So today we're going to talk about the downsides of driving crap. Today's fine vehicle is my 2011 Chevrolet Impala. My friend Keith that owns the Honda that fights in Philly, well, this was his previous vehicle. The story of this, as far as I know it, it started out life as a rental. That was the first, say, 30,000-ish miles of its life. Then it was sold to an older gentleman who lived in Philadelphia. Well, not Philadelphia, but New Jersey, across the river from Philadelphia. So it spent the next 20 or 30,000 miles with that gentleman until he passed. My friend Keith bought it from his estate. It lived in Philadelphia. He worked Front Street right by Route 76. There was a tractor trailer that just after he bought it, that lost a set of tandems, like just came off the chassis as the guy was, I guess, trying to get it back to the port. Both rims, both tires, the brake drum, the whole thing just came off, slammed into the back of the car. Lucky for him, he had just bought it. Insurance company paid to fix the back of it. As you can see right here, and by the way, the hood looks like it's open, but it is not. It had a slight rear end accident. And besides that, it hasn't led the easiest life. The mileage that's on it is very nice, or, not too bad. When I acquired it, it was 106,500 miles exactly. I've had it for 3 years, but in that time, I've been fighting a power steering leak, and, it's whenever you get an older car that has been somewhat abused, it takes a bit to get some of the services up. With the newer cars, when you leave them sit for a while, sensors go bad, things just get goofy. So this has been sitting for the last 6 months because of power steering issues. 3 power steering racks, a seal, a tank, and, various other. Hopefully it's fixed now, but the power steering on this has been an ongoing problem for 3 years. It'll get fixed, it'll be all right for a while, then it'll decide to puke all its fluid, and it's back to square one. 3 steering racks, a reservoir, a pulley, seals, here we are. The other fun thing that this is going through right now is the blend doors. GM, in their infinite wisdom, they make them out of plastic, so they will eventually go bad. And it doesn't matter where you set it, it automatically tests everything every time you open the door. Of course, they're going to go bad. I need to replace them again. It's the dead of winter. I don't know if I'm going to bother. I mean, I have defrost, I have heat, so really what else do I need? I like this one as my winter beater. It's got some weight. Tires on it are pretty decent. So as you can see behind me here in Pennsylvania, it is currently 25 degrees and there's a bunch of snow on the ground. Yes, I'm standing here in a t-shirt. No, it doesn't bother me. I don't know. I guess I tend to run a little hot. I used to drive people nuts at work. It'd be 10 degrees outside, snowing. People are bundled up like Nanook of the Northeast, and I'm standing there in a t-shirt. Born and bred in Pennsylvania, so I'm used to the cold. I don't mind it. Going back to the fun and excitement with the old Impala here, the headlights had been replaced after the rear end accident that kind of punched the nose a little bit. So replacing them, if you go to buy stock bulbs, they don't fit this. I think they're H1 bulbs maybe. The other thing that's going on with it is the crank position sensor has gone bad in all the time that it was sitting, kind of waiting to be gotten to. I think some rodents have gotten into the harness, so that's got to get looked at. If you go to start the car and it doesn't see the crank position sensor right away, it'll go to the cam position sensor and it'll start there. And then at that point, the car it runs fine. That's where we're at with this fine beast at the moment. So that's it, adjusting the blend doors. The car's locked up, it shut off. I have the key right here. Why is it trying to adjust itself? I don't know. But this is the kind of stuff that GM cars do, and this is why that stuff goes bad. It's just bad design. Not only bad design, but manufactured obsolescence. So I think there's a company that builds these in metal somewhere in Indiana, Illinois. So I'm going to have to look at that. Or I just get the plastic ones and fingers crossed maybe they'll last for, another couple of years. But if this is anything like the Ranger, I mean, the Rangers, that's been going strong for me for 9 years now. This is three. Of course, this thing, man, when it runs right, we like it to go on trips with because it's got a monster trunk, back seat's big, pretty spacious car, and out on the highway, I mean, believe it or not, I had this in excess of 40 miles to the gallon going from Pennsylvania to Tennessee. Going from Pennsylvania to Tennessee, back to Pennsylvania, overall average for that trip was over 37 miles to the gallon. Coming home, I was not driving for economy. Not even a little. The fact that the overall average going down was good enough that it was still 37 overall is just amazing. I mean, it really is. If it's not for GM's just the cheap stuff that they do, this thing it's quiet, it's comfortable, it's got the handling dynamics of spaghetti, but for a highway cruiser, this thing, it just blends in, soaks up the bumps. It's not a bad place. Like, I've done 800-mile days in this car. It just did it without complaint. We had taken this, the boy wanted to go to a train museum, he said, in Richmond. He and I hopped in the car, we went to Richmond. He did not mean Richmond. He meant Roanoke. So we went to this train museum, which was pretty small, and turned around and came home. Basically from northeast Pennsylvania down to the middle of eastern Virginia and then back. That's a pretty good day. It was very hot that day. The ambient temperature was, I think, like 100, 102, somewhere in there. So luckily, the air conditioning was working. He slept and I drove, and it worked out real nice. I will show you a little bit about this beast, and then I'm going to go and put some more miles on it because the new gas, the alcohol in it, man, it just does not. This is a flex fuel car, so I can run whatever. The gas in this, I didn't expect it to be sitting for 6 months. The gas in this is 6 months old, and I'm sure it's if it's not getting ready to turn, it's not 100%. We'll just put it that way. As you can see, it's tough to see, but everything closes, and even though the hood is bent and buckled, it closes securely in both latches. It is by no means a perfect car, not even a little. You can see a little residual dent right there. When that tire hit this, it took out the whole back of the car. It was ugly. Going back to bad parts in the box, my Explorer, I needed a shift solenoid, so I had put the shift solenoid for a 1993 Ford Explorer. Went to check the progress of my big truck, and checking the progress of the big truck, well, I got off the highway, I looked in my rearview mirror and saw nothing. There's more clicking. Gotta love GM. Anyway, I looked behind me and there was nothing but a huge cloud. Huge cloud. So I got to where I was going, parked the truck. There was maybe half a quart to a quart of fluid in the transmission. In the 10 miles that I drove it, it sucked all of the fluid out of the transmission, put it down the intake, and ran it through the car. The thing was fine after we got a decent solenoid. I mean, had it been anybody else, or if I needed to go further and just wasn't looking out the back of the car, that would not have gone well. But I managed to got it to where I was going and got it towed on home. So no big problem there. Got it fixed again. This is your crap consultant signing off in snow-covered Pennsylvania. We'll talk to you later.